In the summer of 2000, you could not escape Back Here. Every pop station in America, number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, three guys from the north of England on tour with Britney Spears and NSYNC. It was peak boy band era. And then 2 years later, they were gone. But that's barely even half the story. All three guys from BBMAK are on the show today. And the version of the last 25 years you haven't heard is way more fun than the one that you have. I'm Chris Vetrano, and this is The Gist. Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano. And if you turned on MTV in the summer of 2000, you knew Back Here. Three-part harmonies, acoustic guitars, and somehow on the same tour as Britney Spears and NSYNC. BBMAK were one of those bands that were just about everywhere for about 18 months. And then the second the Y2K pop moment shifted, they were gone. Here's what you probably don't know. Between 2003 and the reunion in 2018, one of them went on and became a global trance vocalist working with Tiësto and Armin van Buuren. Another became a personal trainer and dad. And the third started three new bands and has been training in martial arts for 30 years. All three of these guys are on the show today: Christian Burns, Mark Berry, and Stephen McNally of BBMAK. Guys, welcome to The Gist. I'm so excited to have you guys here on the program today. A huge BBMAK fan growing up, and so excited that you guys are back out on tour. I know that you're on tour now, and I can tell probably in a hotel room. Where am I catching you guys today?
We're actually in Connecticut at the moment, and we've got a show tonight, Foxwoods Casino, the Pop 2000 tour. So yeah, we're here in the casino trying not spend all our money on the machines.
Well, I'm glad that I could give you a reason to stay in the hotel room then, so that you don't go wild down there. And you're on the Pop 2K or the Pop 2000 tour. I know Ryan Cabrera, Chris Kirkpatrick, LFO. You've got kind of like all of this nostalgia. And how does that, like, coming back? Does it feel like the old days, the TRL days, like having everybody back in the room, but like 20 something years
for
later?
us back in 2000, it was just a whirlwind of a year, and as it was for 2001, 2002. But to see all the fans from back then to come and see us, because we're good with faces, and we spent a lot of time with the fans back then, and to relive those moments again, doing it is fantastic. We're having a great time. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
But it's also great to see the guys again, like O-Town, LFO, Chris, these are all the guys we used to play with back in the day. So it's nice to be back out on the road with those guys too.
Yeah, because you guys actually toured with NSYNC back in that time, right? And
Yeah,
so now
that's
you're
right. Yeah,
We did the Pop
Odyssey.
Pop Odyssey tour. I think it was in 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
We played some of the stadium shows with
Yeah.
NSYNC back in the day, and that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have such an interesting story, because obviously back in 2000, you couldn't turn on MTV or the radio and not hear Back Here. And what was so interesting about you guys is the boy band era was obviously, as we've just talked about a few of them, a lot of dancing, a lot of, like, it was very kind of a commercial in a very different way. And what you guys brought, three-part harmonies, acoustic guitars, like real instruments to what was, in other words, not doing that in that kind of time. Tell me, kind of, how did you guys feel at that point, like fitting into this group that you're now like on tour with some of these guys? Like, did you guys feel like the outcasts of the boy band world, or how did that kind of feel?
I think we were different at the time, but the label kind of used that to our advantage. They kind of played on that, We even had stickers, didn't we? Saying
No dancing,
no dancing, BBMAK, no dancing, and they used that as a positive kind of marketing spin to kind of get people's attention. But ultimately, it was the same people, the same crowd of people we were playing for and doing all these shows with. It was fun being a little bit different. It helped us kind of cut through the noise a little bit more. And but we loved being part of that whole scene back in the day.
Yeah, it was a wild time. I often have a lot of my guests are kind of from that era, and we talk about like TRL. And I always say, I feel bad for like the kids coming up in music today. I mean, I guess like TikTok is the new TRL, and but you don't get to like actually see how crazy it was when, you guys would walk over to the window and all the fans would be outside on the street. And, you're really seeing it in a way that we just don't see it as now. We see the numbers and the likes and the clicks and all of the things, but we just like don't have that feeling as much today.
It's funny because there was a video that we sent. It might be you that sent it for TRL, and there was like all the fans were there, and it was outside with all the banners, and it was just a really pinnacle moment of our career because we did it quite a lot. Yeah. And Carson Daly, and it was great moments for us. But I remember that well. There's a lot of fans going wild outside the studio.
Yeah,
it was mental.
Yeah, it was a special time in music. To have that countdown every week. And you got to go into the studio with Carson, be part of the show, be part of the countdown. Watch your video coming up. You guys are at number 5 this week. Your guys are number
climbing up.
It was really exciting for us, and especially being a band from the UK, getting to be on TV, on MTV in the US, in New York. It was like a dream come true for us.
And it was a great way to connect with the fans, because obviously a lot of them were in the studio. I mean, a lot of them were outside, with banners and whatnot, but it was a lot of them in the studio. So it was a really fun time and great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and you mentioned that like coming from the UK, because not all of the bands made it. Like obviously there were boy bands in that time as well, like Five and others that Westlife and stuff that just didn't really like ever hit in the US. And so even coming over with Back Here and it being so wildly successful that you guys can be, I was looking at your tour dates and your tour calendar. I was like, wow, like they are really like hitting like all of these areas in the US. Like you guys are still hitting it in the US, which is amazing years later.
Well, it's fantastic. We love being on the road in the US. America is huge.
It never ends. It's all never ends.
We could tour all year in the US. Like the UK is so small.
You've done in like a week.
Literally, so like London, Manchester, Birmingham, and then Scotland, and then the whole tour's done. But the US is so massive and so different. Every part of the US, like the East Coast, the West Coast, is so different. But it's great for us. We get to see the sunshine. We get to be on the road. We get to see the guys. We get to see the audience. We get to have fun every night doing.
And we're taking it in more now as well. I think back then it was just so fast paced. We were young, and it was all new to us. But I think the chance of doing it again now, we're really enjoying it and taking everything in more so.
Absolutely, we appreciate it a lot now.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what is kind of the difference, 24 years later of like being on the road then versus being on the road now? Obviously, like probably some of the rooms are different and things, but like, is there other things that are, I mean, you're just talking about like probably connecting more, really appreciating it more. Are there other things that you're like, this is really different?
Yeah, I think we feel a lot more in control now. I think, it's really condensed our team. We've got a strong team, really condensed team, and we know our itinerary. Every day is similar. You've got certain times when you do your sound check, your VIPs and your meet and greets, and it just runs like clockwork now. So we know what to expect when we do go out on tour now. I mean, back then it was a mad itinerary. I mean, in 2000, we did 180 flights that year. Yeah. So we didn't have any time to take anything in. But now we know what to expect.
Yeah, it's a well-oiled machine.
It really is. It's finely tuned.
Yeah, and also it's a little bit different. We go to the gym nearly every day now when we're out on tour. Less of the partying.
Yes. We can't now.
Listen, it was a lot of fun, but it's Mark and Steve, they live in the UK. I'm in the States. So when we come over, these tours are pretty condensed, and, we do like 2 or 3 weeks at a time. So it's literally like military, we've got to be feeling good as well. So we look after ourselves a lot better now than we did back then, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I didn't actually even know, and again, being a huge fan, had your debut record and played it all the time, is that when the song actually came out in the UK, it didn't perform the way that the label had hoped. And it wasn't until the Asian markets in Japan like picked it up and suddenly you guys like took off. I'm so curious, like at what point, because I imagine that, especially you guys really worked and, sang outside of the record label. Like you guys were really you have this kind of famous story of like really going for it. But so I imagine that feels like a bit of a letdown, like, the song didn't hit. What was it like when you get this call, I imagine, that's like, hey, like, weird story, you guys are huge in Japan. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember we were all pretty deflated.
Yeah.
We were so excited. We loved Back Here. So we believed in the song so much, and we were like quietly confident. And then we released it in the UK. I think it hit the top 40, top number 35 or something.
Yeah.
We were a little deflated, but the label was still like, okay, that's okay. It's the first single. And then, just like you said, got some traction in Asia, and then it just started flying to the top of these charts in like Japan, Singapore, Malaysia. So we went out there, and I remember the first time we went to Japan, and we got to the airport, and there was all this commotion. And we were like, what's going on here? And it took us a few seconds, but we realized all these fans had turned up for us, and it was chaos. There was the security guards, police there at the airport. And we were like, wow, this is different. And that was the beginning of it for us, really. It just reaffirmed the belief we had in the song, that it was a great song and it would connect with people. So it did. And then from there, we just went from strength to strength. And then somebody actually, a DJ in Raleigh in North Carolina, got hold of the song because it wasn't released in America yet. And he got hold of the song in a shop in the UK. I think he heard it. He was on vacation. He heard it on the radio, and he took it back to America, and he had a pretty decent station, and he just started playing it, and he was obsessed with the song. He played it actually, and he played it twice in a row on his show, like one after the other. He loved it that much. And something started happening around that. And then, we just, then we were in discussions with a lot of labels in the States who wanted to speak to us. And then we ended up, signing with Hollywood Records back in 2000. It was December 99. It was. Yeah, December 99. And then, the rest is history. Just started doing the promotion. We did a Disney special, which was a great exposure for us. And then we got on tour with Britney as well. We opened for Britney on a Oops, I Did It Again tour, which was great for us. It really, it gave a lot of eyes on the project for us, and, helped us, turn the song into a big, huge success in America.
What also was cool about it was the fact that after we'd had all the success in America, we went back to the UK and re-released the same song. And it went to number 5 in the UK, and it was kind of, it was a sweet moment for us, because we always believed in the song, and it was like, right, when we re-released it, it got the position that we thought it deserved. We worked hard.
Everyone in radio and TV, everyone listened. Then, this success is these 3 lads from the northwest of England. We want a piece of this, want to support it and see what it's all about. So that's when it kind of, everything went a bit more wild for us guys in the UK for a little bit.
And what was funny as well was when we went back to the UK after being in the US for so long, people who didn't know us thought we were an American band. It was crazy.
Wow.
English accent.
They thought you guys were American by the sound of the song. It's like, no, we're from
Yeah.
here.
That is interesting. Yeah, because it's almost like your home turned on you, right? Like they didn't get it initially. You had to go everywhere else, and then they adopted it. And so well, yeah, no, it's such a wild story. And, you talked about that I had, you went on the Oops, I Did It Again tour. It's the one tour that I didn't see Britney live. So I missed you guys. But I imagine like you talked about all the fly dates and stuff. Was that part of that sort of touring cycle, or was that, what was that like when you were on tour with Britney kind of at the peak of this sort of crazy
It
pop
was chaos, wasn't it? How many you've recorded? How many
we did? Yeah, well, I did a diary of 2000, and we wrote everything from going to the gym to getting up, doing radio station, silly o'clock in the morning,
malls,
everything. And yeah, it was 180 flights, but we had a tour bus. Well, we had 2 tour buses, one for the band, one for ourselves. And basically what we'd do a gig, let's say in Nashville, but then we'd be needed somewhere else in Chicago, for instance, maybe for a TV show. So we'll get on a flight and then fly to wherever the tour bus is. So it was like connecting all around America for quite some time. So we were living out of a suitcase, and it was pretty mental, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like it's so hard for artists to get those kinds of opportunities. And especially like where you guys started and then that the song not performing the way that the label thought initially in the UK, and then having like all of these opportunities thrown at you so fast. And then obviously I know in I think it was 2003, you guys disbanded, you guys decided to break. Tell me a little bit what led to that decision, because you guys were truly in this whirlwind change, and it must have just, I mean, you went from like 180 to another 180.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, the musical landscape there was a huge shift, and it was kind of like repelling pop. It was like pop was over and it was all about grunge bands and, rock bands. And so there was that kind of resistance there with that. Also, we were so tired. We were pretty broken, weren't
Yeah.
we? It had been like
Worked so hard.
4-5 years of non-stop graft and just endless flights and touring and everything. So we were
Burnt out.
we were very burnt out as well. And it was different back then as well. If there was no kind of there's no social media. It was even before MySpace and everything. There was no independent labels. You couldn't release your own songs. There wasn't, so, when the labels and everyone shifted and they were like, oh, we're going down this more rock kind of avenue now, there's not much you could do really. So I think it was a perfect storm of the landscape changing and us being just very burnt out,
And a lot of bands at a lot of pop bands at
Yeah.
the same time finished that, like
Yeah,
LSD,
mirror kind of thing.
a
Yeah.
lot of bands kind of disbanded at that similar time
was,
as us.
yeah.
You could feel this, you could sense the shift in music.
Yeah, it must have been tough. And so I know then you guys all kind of started doing various things. I know, Christian, you kind of took the maybe biggest pivot, moving into kind of like this trance space and working with Tiësto, who I know said he found your music online. And,
Yeah.
and I imagine, that's very different than the band crowd. So what kind of led to that pivot for you, and why was that the change, especially given kind of what all was changing in the landscape of music?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I carried on writing music. All of us have carried on. We love music. It's in our blood, you know what I mean? So I carried on, and then I had some songs of mine on MySpace, and I'd kind of changed my sound. I was doing some solo stuff, and it was more rocky, kind of like early Killers kind of esque stuff, synthesizers. And Tiësto actually found my songs on MySpace and reached out, and I was like, "Who is this guy? I've never heard of him." And then the label sent me this DVD in the mail, said, "Watch this," because he originally said he wanted one of my songs, and I was like, "You're not having my songs, they're my song." And I put this DVD on, and it was Tiësto in concert with like 60,000 people in the stadium, and I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, "Wow!" So I was like, "Hey, mate, yeah, actually, we can do something." So we wrote another song together, and it was completely different to the scene that I was used to. But it was something that I really enjoyed, and I still do, today. It was very different, though, very different to what, we were doing at the time. But I think all of us have, we've kind of changed and we've evolved our musical flavor, as time goes on. It's, ultimately we love music, and it doesn't matter what genre it is, we just love music.
Great music, yeah.
That's it.
And I know, Stephen, you also stayed doing kind of music at the time, but Mark, you really took a step outside of the spotlight and
Yeah.
were not as focused on music. Obviously, started training and doing
Yeah, I
becoming
mean,
a dad.
I still did do some writing. Our manager at the time put me onto some artists that I was a big fan of, like Conor Reeves back in the UK. Did quite a lot of writing with him, and I was trying to get a sound and develop a sound. I don't think I was quite ready at that point to try and take it on as an individual, artist. But I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed still doing music, so that was something that led me, to carry on with doing that. But the fitness side of things is something I've always loved doing. I've always helped others, even before becoming, a personal trainer. I've always had the knowledge. So I thought I'd give it a go, and I've not looked back since. So I still do personal training as well as obviously doing the touring with the lads, because I like transforming people's bodies. It's something I've always done, for the last 16 years now. So that's something I enjoy doing.
Yeah. So did you feel like I mean, again, you guys talk about this whirlwind few years that you had as BBMAK and all the touring and flying and radio and all the promo, I mean, magazines, everything was so different then than it is even now. And then, you know, getting back to like just a normal Tuesday, did that have any kind of like impact on just like, did it feel relieving, or did it feel like you had an itch to get back and doing the whirlwind again?
It was a nice break, you know, from going from being like
15 years.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, it's like being in the band and being so
Immersed.
having the record company, like just having you're in Boston one day, you're in LA the next day, doing that for like 4 years straight and being burnt out after it. So after that, taking a break from that was amazing. But it is because we love music. It's always there. It's always at the back of your mind.
Yeah.
It's always in your heart. You're always thinking, I might write a song today. But once you've taken that break, you know, after a while, you're like, that itch does come back. You are like, you know, you're remembering the good times. You're not remembering how hard it was being on tour, you know, for 4 years. You're not remembering missing being away from home. You're remembering the fun times. You're remembering the audience. You're remembering the music. You're remembering, you know, standing next to the guys on stage and just having just a connection with the audience and with your band. You're remembering them times, and that's what sparks that, you know, initial urge to let's get back together and do it again. You know, you miss it. You do miss it.
We're loving scratching this itch now.
Yeah,
you know, we're really scratching it now.
Yeah.
And I think also it made us kind of, we don't take it for granted now. We're appreciating it all so much more, and in some ways, I think enjoying it more. You know, without the pressure that we were under, immense pressure. So yeah, we're having a great time, Chris.
Because this is doable, what we do now. It's a nice balance. You know, we do about maybe 10 weeks, a little bit more, 12 weeks out the year of touring. And that, for us, we do the tour, we have a break, and then we do the tour again. We're ready to come back out again. You know, the way it's segmented over the year, it's perfect for us.
Yeah, you're really doing it now on your terms and making it fit.
And
which is
luckily, we
great.
don't have to dance either. You know, a lot of bands come back now. Yeah, they're in the 50s and they have to do all these dances, and we're like, okay, we did that well.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah, you guys set yourself up for that. That was a smart move in the beginning. But during that kind of like 15-year hiatus, you guys still showed up for each other in big milestones in each other's lives and things. So during that 15 years, was there conversations of, should we do this again, or were you just kind of set that it was time for you guys to pursue your own things?
You know what? We always stayed in touch. We've always stayed in touch.
There was never any big band split. There was never any fallout. It was just like we literally took a break from touring, and then we were meant to get back together, but the break just lasted. went on longer than we thought. We never officially said we were disbanding. We were splitting up. We just took a break and kind of like didn't.
No,
yeah.
Even this wasn't planned. We got together to take care of some other business with the back catalogue, and we met, and there was a guitar in the house, and Steve said, we said, you know, just for old times, drive back here and see if we can do it, you know, and we hadn't sat down with a guitar for like 15 years. And honestly, we sat down, Steve got the guitar out, and we've sang it. It was flawless, and we were all shocked. I think we were like, wow, we went to our harmonies and we were shocked, and we didn't even have a BBMAK social media or anything like that. I posted the video just like, oh, look who I've seen today, popped it on Instagram, and it had like millions of views. So that kind of got us thinking, oh, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Because we really enjoyed singing together again after all this time, and we were like, you know, people want to hear us again. And there was so many comments under the post saying, oh, you guys getting back together? You guys, you know, so we really started thinking about it and taking it serious then. This was 2016. And then, we did our first shows in 2017. We came to the States and did a few shows and, you know, tested the water, and we haven't looked back since.
And you mentioned just kind of like getting back and singing back here again. I'm curious if back here was, if you were going back into the studio to record a record and you started putting back here together, is it the same song, or does it sound different in 2026 than what it sounded like then? In like from your production and kind of putting that song together, how would you guys?
For me, I think when we worked with Oliver Lieber in 1998, when we initially recorded the song. We wrote the song with a guy called Phil McNally, a good friend of ours, a good songwriter. And we went to LA to record the song. The record company sent us to LA. And Oliver absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
Because that song sounds fresh today.
Yeah.
It's like
Timeless.
it doesn't sound like it was that 2000 era.
Yeah.
It sounds like it could have been released, last week. And it's because it's all organic. It's live drums, it's live bass, it's live guitar,
The players.
it's all the vocals, and that was our BBMAK sound. That session with Back Here kind of sculpted our sound. Once we nailed that song, it was like, actually, we've got our own sound here. We didn't sound like NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or LFO. We sounded like BBMAK. And
we took that as a blueprint, didn't we?
It was great.
Yeah.
So we kind of just run with that formula. Yeah, for me, and I think for the guys, the song sounds as fresh today as it did.
Really does.
It sounds great every night. As soon as we introduce it Back Here and that guitar comes in, it's like
we never get sick of that song.
Yeah.
People ask us that all the time. Do you ever get sick of Back Here singing it? And I'm like, no. It's a special song for us, for many different reasons. But I agree with what you said, Steve. It still sounds timeless.
Well, that's it. My son, before it came out on this tour, I picked him up from school and he put Back Here on. You got his phone out, linked it to the radio, played Back Here, and he said, "Do you not get bored of singing this song, Dad?" And I was like, "Nope."
Yeah,
Love it.
Yeah. That I was going to ask, how is it like as with your kids? Like, I'm sure at this point you've told them about the stories of the Y2K era and all the things that you do and got to experience. What's their reaction to that? Of like, wow, Dad was
for me, because my boys are a bit younger than Steve, so they're a little bit. When I kind of hit America, they're a bit like, yeah, whatever. But now, as they're getting older, they are more interested. I mean, I just FaceTimed my youngest before, and he was saying, "How was your gig last night?" and "Show me around, where are you?" And he's showing a lot bit more interest now. But for me, I think it's the fact that they've never seen me perform. So I think once they see the band perform, they'll be quite shocked. I mean, I've shown them video clips and stuff like that, but until you actually see it live and see the crowd's reaction, that's when they'll change their they'll be a little bit more interested. But, they're proud. They know I love music and they support, be coming out here. They're fine with me being out for 3-4 weeks sometimes, but because they know that's what I love to do. So, yeah, they're proud.
Yeah, for me, what was strange for me was I never told my kids I was in a successful band. When they were born, I was just still playing in like regular bands. I was doing like bar shows. I was playing in an original rock band from Liverpool, but I never told them about BBMAK. So I just carried on going out playing shows over weekends.
They always just knew.
So they knew I was a musician, but they didn't know I had any success. And I was walking past my son's bedroom one day, and he'd had guitars. Both my boys play guitar. They both play drums. My son was on his guitar, and as I was walking past his bedroom, I just heard Back Here on guitar, and I was like, so he'd gone onto YouTube, found BBMAK,
started learning it,
and started learning out, and it really melted my heart. It really touched me because I was like, wow, he found me, and he took the time to learn the song. So I didn't walk in and say, where did you? I had the ear to the door.
Like,
oh, wow. And then he came downstairs and went, Dad, I've learned a song. And I was like, okay, show me. And he started playing Back Here. And I was holding back the tears, like,
yeah, proud of that moment.
Yeah, it was a real moment for me. But yeah, it's amazing. The kids are proud. They look forward to hearing the stories about being on tour. Who you played shows with? What cities have you been to? So yeah, they love it. They love the stories.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I imagine too, like, when you start saying like NSYNC and Britney Spears, like that really has to impact them in a different way too. Like, it's not just like Dad had some success, he had a song on the radio, like truly like touring with like the biggest acts in the world and some of the biggest icons of today, which
it's sometimes they've jumped on YouTube and they've Googled like award ceremonies when we've given like awards to Britney Spears or to Destiny's Child, or, like shows with, BBMAK opening up for NSYNC, in Boston, or for them, it was a real eye opener because, I'm just Dad. I'm the guy who drives them to school and picks them up and, takes them to the gym and makes their dinner. And to see a completely different side, it was like, actually, Dad, you're quite cool. Because, you know,
Yeah.
I'm cool, but as soon as they seeing that stuff, it was like,
Like,
actually,
all right,
Dad, you know,
all right.
I'll give you some credit. You are quite cool.
But my youngest he was singing Bye 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 a few months back. Well, it was before the last tour, and I said, "Do you know who we toured with? Chris Kirkpatrick, who sings that
From
song."
Deadpool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Deadpool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my youngest was singing it. I says, "I toured with him." He says, "Do you?" I went, "Yeah." He says, "Next time on tour, when I FaceTime you, I'll put him on." So I put him on. He was like, "There he is," and he went dead quiet. It was like, "Oh," but he's brilliant.
So I've heard now the kids are performing on guitar and singing Bye Bye Bye. Is this the next generation of BBMAK?
Get him to make a I mean, I haven't got any kids, Chris, so my kid, you know, it's
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
none that I know of. And
Well, I mean, maybe this is the next generation. Maybe you guys will be on the what would it be? The I don't know what called today. It's not the Y2K, but whatever today
Yeah,
is.
whatever it is.
They'll be on. They'll be on that tour. So curious because and you know you can't also and actually you guys all did say that you love Back Here, and we obviously talk so much about that song because it is truly one of the like greatest songs that I think like is so recognizable. And the reason I asked that question, and by the way, of the what would it be like if you went in to arrange it or record it today, is because I was feeling the same way. It's like it's such a timeless song, and it could be on the radio again today, and probably should be on the radio again today. And it would probably have the same success because it is just kind of that kind of song. So I'm glad that you guys thought that and feel that, and I'm sure see it every night when you start playing it. The crowds go wild. But what song, if there is one, now that you are back on tour, are you either you feel like was maybe underrated, or maybe it's a song that like you're the most tired of kind of performing now all these years later?
I mean, I think one song that we always done it, and it's unfortunately we didn't write it, but it's one that's a really special song for us. Is More Than Words by Extreme, and we still perform that one. You know, when we do shows, when we do our own shows, and we actually got to perform that one with Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme at Boston Red Sox Stadium when we were opening for NSYNC, and he came up on stage, didn't he, Steve?
Yeah,
because one of Steve's heroes.
He was I had that guy's poster on my wall as a kid. You know, he was one of my guitar heroes. And then when he came to the show, and the guy from the record company said, Nuno from Extreme, he's coming to the show. And I was like, I've got to meet this guy. I've got his poster on my wall. I've got to get his autograph. And he came, and he was such a lovely guy, such a nice guy. But he's like one of the greatest guitar players who has ever lived. No word of a lie. That guy is phenomenal. And we were just chatting on the tour bus, and I just said, you know, do you fancy singing More Than Words with us? And he was like, really? And I was like, but for us, it was amazing because Nuno, obviously, he wrote the song. It was his song. And he said, your version of More Than Words is my favourite cover. Apart from our own version, yours is my favourite version. And for us, that was
amazing.
Big,
and it's been covered for that.
It's been
hundreds of times.
Yeah.
So, and then when he agreed to come on stage, it was like, for me, standing on stage with my hero, playing his, a massive hit and him singing along. It was
a good
amazing
moment,
moment.
great.
Yeah, it was a great moment. And also I think, like even like off the two, Out of My Head, Into Your Head, sorry, and Sooner or Later, even the album tracks that weren't singles, we're coming out now and we're realizing how much they connected with people as well.
Yeah.
The songs like, I Can Tell, Next Time, all the other ones, I'm Not in Love,
She's
Unpredictable.
Everything, yeah.
Everyone knows every single word to the song. So, all these songs really connected with people back in the day. And it's like, guess in our minds, they were a bit underrated because they weren't singles. People have kept listening to these songs, for 20, 30 years nearly. And, it's just a great feeling for us that all that music was, really meant something to people.
Yeah.
And we're just loving performing all the old songs with some new ones as well. But, we love doing it all.
Yeah. And tell me about the new ones. Like how is getting back to the process now that you guys are back together? I imagine like, more time avoiding casinos. Like, are you guys spending time writing? Are you recording? Like what can we kind of expect as fans in 2026 or beyond?
Yeah, I mean, we had when we got together, we just released another album in 2021, a power station. We've done a few singles since. We did one called Collide with The Last Arcade with Steve's other band. We did another one, Painting Lights. We are working on some new music, so you know, it's there's a lot of ideas floating around, and it's just getting the time, getting us together to kind of finish them all off. But yeah, we are working on new music, and we love doing the old stuff, but we love doing new stuff as well. And it's something
Keeps it exciting for us.
Yeah, it keeps it exciting for us. So, you know, we're always changing things up, changing the setup, moving songs around, doing new songs. So yeah, there will be more music. Because we plan, you know, we've actually been together longer now than we were the first time.
It's
It's crazy when you think about it.
Because it feels to me that we were together longer back then.
Yeah, back in the
So this has been long. So, and we plan on being around for, you know, as long as we can do this, because we're loving it, you know. So as long as people want to come and see us at shows and people are enjoying the music, we're going to be, you know, creating it.
Yeah, no, that is wild to think that you guys have been doing this now longer.
It's mental, isn't it, when you think about it?
And I know I've talked to a lot of artists. I used to work on the business side of the music business. So I've had a lot of these kind of conversations. And I know that with artists that have like this massive success, specifically with like a one song, or especially like if it's their first song, they're forever, no matter how many years passes, there is always this pressure when you're writing songs of like, is this better than Back Here?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys feel that? Like, is that like, does that ever stand in your way?
Well, no, because what was funny was when we wrote Back Here, we knew it was a really good song, but we didn't think it was the song that it would become.
Yeah.
We was just like, oh, you know, we wrote it and we put it on the pile with all the other songs we'd written, and we went away. And it wasn't until we produced the song
That's right.
it
Came to light.
came to light.
Yeah.
So we never really put any pressure on the songwriting side. You know, the success of a song, you know, it's determined by a lot of factors. You know, the record company, the budget, the touring, the schedule. But when it comes to actual songwriting, we were always confident that we could write hit songs. So going into the second album, when we wrote Out of My Heart, you know, we wrote that and it was like, that's a song.
It's a great song.
That's up there with Back Here.
Yeah.
You know, I love singing that song every night.
Yeah, me too. I think if you know, when we're writing songs, if it moves us, and it's a success. No matter what happens with the charts, whatever. If it moves us, we know it's going to move other people, and we don't put that pressure on ourselves. You know what I mean? We just do the stuff that we are passionate about and that we love, and we know other people will like it.
Yeah, and I think that's that is the one thing about kind of the music industry today is. I just recently had like Willa Ford on, and you know, she was talking about her kind of return to music, and like she can now do music again because you can put out independent music. You can kind of like just go into the studio and record something, and you can also like put a little bit of a sound of something on social media and see like, are people gravitating towards this? Do they like it? Or do we just like toss that because that didn't go anywhere or it didn't get a lot of attention or buzz? And so there is some of that like has changed obviously from when you guys first started. So I think it's an interesting time to sort of reemerge, and I'm excited for you guys. And I know on this tour, because the Pop 2000 tour is part of your tour dates, but you're also doing some independent dates. I know you're coming to Nashville, which was where I'm at. I think in July, I think you're coming to Sitting Winery with Tyler Hilton. So it's a mix of a lot of different sort of dates. Does the show sort of change and ebb and flow based on kind of what stop you guys are making, or what can fans expect when they're checking out the tour schedule?
I mean, like I said, we always change the show up. I mean, we kind of do it in like segments. So we've just gone through the whole set list for our headline show, because we get a lot more kind of chance to express ourselves in our headline show. You know, when we're doing the Pop 2000 show, we're kind of just playing the hits. You know, it's a 30-minute set, whereas when we do our own, it's like an hour and a half thereabouts. So we've got more time to play with and be able to express ourselves. So yeah, we have changed it up, and we're always, you know, bringing songs in, taking songs out, moving things around, and keeping it fresh for everyone, because we get a lot of people, obviously they come time and time again to see us, so we want to keep it fresh for them, keep it exciting for them and for us as well. So yeah, we can't give all the surprises away.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I'll come check it out, and when you guys stop in Nashville and see and sing along. Now, given that you're on the Pop 2000 tour, I want to go back there, and each of you individually, I'd love for you to like go back into the time capsule And what's something like a memory or something that like you've never said on an interview before that that you can go back to and you're like, this is something that I think about often from that era?
Think for me was doing our own House of Blues tour back in the end of 2000. You know, it was such a great end to an amazing year for us, and I think it was like 40 odd dates, wasn't it? We did,
Yeah.
and you know, it was sold out. You know, there was House of Blues, a couple of thousand people, 2,000 to 3,000 people, sellout tour. And it was just like, yes, boys, we've done it this year. We worked really hard, and it's shown all that work and all the, because the schedule was really tough. You know, the fact that we had all the time to spend in America because we weren't doing much. We did a little bit in Asia, but we spent so much time in America, and it paid off towards the end of 2000.
Yeah.
And I remember stood on stage, was doing Unpredictable, and I think when they started all the confetti coming down, it was just a great moment of like, well done, boys, pat on the back. It's been a fantastic year. So that was a great moment for me.
I think one thing I wish I would have done more was like really appreciate, and I'm so proud of us and what we've achieved, but really appreciate the level of what we actually did accomplish, because we started with nothing. There was the three of us. We had no manager. We had nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we were busking outside labels, and for us to take that dream and take it and to be as successful as it was with just the three of us and you know, this vision we had was a real achievement, a real huge achievement. And I think at the time we kind of took that for granted, you know what I mean? But when I think back now, I'm like, you know, I guess, you know, we should have been a bit prouder maybe at the time.
I agree with you.
Because it was, I mean, you look at it like when you look at it on paper, what we did and what the odds were, and you know, the amount of you know, work we did to get where we ended up was pretty incredible. What we accomplished. I'm very proud now, but I think that at the time, kind of took that for granted. It was kind of that ignorance and that confidence we had as well. You know, when you're younger, it's like we're going to do this thing. We did it. We're like, yeah, we did it. We said we were going to do it. But we, you know, as I've got older, kind of reflecting on that and thinking, wow, it was pretty
really
special.
Took it a little bit more.
Yeah. So that's one thing.
We were so immersed in it. It was like every day was just, you know, we were on tour, we were in the studio, we were on tour in the studio, we were writing. So every day was like, we were just busy. But for me, real special moment was when we got our awards for selling records. You know, the record company flew our families over to New York.
Yeah. Right.
And it's, you know, guys, you know, here's your first gold record award. And for us, you know, it was huge, and for our families to be there to see it, you know, and like you said, you know, all the hard work, you know, when the record company went, there you go, guys, you've sold 500,000 albums in the US. And we were like, it was amazing. It was a real moment for us because we dreamed about we'd seen the big famous bands with these plaques, you know, millions of albums. And, you know, that was our first one. The first plaque we ever got was like, it was an amazing feeling, you know, and you look at it and it's got your name on it. It's got the big gold disc.
Because we'd see him in the studios when we get the studios, they're all obviously like, and we'd be like, wow,
one day. And we got a
few of them.
You got a few of them now, so it's great.
You mentioned the House of Blues tour, and I was wondering, you guys opened for such iconic bands. Do you remember who opened for you on that tour?
Jessica
Riddle. Yes, she was signed to
Hoku.
Yes.
Hoku.
We did stuff that was Disney. That was Disney. Yeah. Okay. Because we were signed to a Disney label, we did a lot of movie soundtracks. So we did some stuff with Hoku. Yeah.
I think who else was it? Jessica Riddle.
Jessica Riddle was signed to our label too, and she opened up for us on that one. It was a band called Solid Harmony, the girl band. They opened up for us. Yeah. I can't remember.
It was that time ago, Chris.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, because you know they're doing an interview somewhere, and they're probably saying BBMAK gave me my first show, my first big break, and so when you were saying that, I was like, I wonder if they remember who was on that. But that's cool. Hoku had a little bit of a moment with the Legally Blonde soundtrack, and so that's fun. Well, that's awesome. So you know, you guys came together in '96. And that means that you guys have been a band essentially, because you guys never broke up. You guys just took a hiatus. So really, you've been a band for 30 years this
Don't make
year.
us feel old, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, when you say it like that, it's like, it's unbelievable.
It is
you know?
madness that.
But it's also,
What?
it's a beautiful thing.
It really is, and and it is crazy, and I'm with you. I was a fan and was with you guys. So thinking about that is crazy that it's been 30 years. But what does the band look like when you've been together for 40 years? Like, what does the next 10 years look like? What do you think is the
Probably
band?
more blood pressure tablets, lots of medications, walking sticks. I don't know. I think, like I said before, I mentioned it, that we are looking after ourselves a lot better, and we plan on keeping that up, because it's like, when you're out on the road, it is hard work. It is a grueling schedule, and the more you can look after yourself, it does help us. So, and that's going to help us take us on for another 10 years, another 15 years, another 20 years. Who knows? Like I said, we don't dance, so we can do this for a while.
I think we enjoy what we do.
Yeah,
we've been through so much together, as a band, and that journey is still continuing. The fact that the fans love what we do, as Christian was saying earlier, they're still, if they're going to be buying the tickets, we'll carry on doing what we love to do, and that's perform and tour. So I see us doing it for quite a number of years to come. 6 months. Now, I really do see many years left in us, because we are looking after ourselves. We are fit and well, and as long as we're enjoying it, we'll carry on doing it.
Yeah.
That no more 15-year breaks.
Absolutely.
Just carrying on.
Just 15-minute breaks now.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely have to have you guys back when you're celebrating 50 years, and we'll talk about what's changed then. But it has been awesome having you guys on the program today. Like I said, I'm hoping to catch the show in July, because I'm such a fan of the music, and I think you guys are so talented. And so it's been an honor to chat with you guys today.
Great chatting with you, Chris.
Yeah. And before we wrap, like, where can people that are listening, where can they find you? I know at one point when you started, you didn't have social media, but I know you are today. So give us kind of the tags and where people can catch up.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to bbmak.com and all the details are there. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, BBMAK official on Instagram, and go to bbmak.com, and all the deets are on the website.
Well, it's been awesome to have you guys, and good luck out there on tour. And like I said, I'll hopefully see you in July. And until next time, thank you all for listening. I'm Chris Vetrano, and that is The Gist.